billionaires with rocket ships know when they've poked something infinite. You ever notice how silence has weight? How the absence of someone can crack foundations that took years to build? That's you now? You're not trending because you begged for it. You're trending because you stopped performing. You walked off the stage mid-applause, left the theater burning, and didn't look back to watch the smoke rise. And now they're all standing in the rubble, squinting through the ash, trying to figure out what just happened. Elon Musk, a man who launches cars into space for breakfast, who bends markets with misspelled tweets, who treats the internet like his personal sandbox, noticed you. Not because you asked, not because you hashtagged your way into his peripheral vision, but because your energy shifted so violently, so seismically, that it registered on sensors designed to detect disruption. He typed your name. Think about that. A man who has literally everything paused, stared at a screen, and acknowledged your existence. Elon Musk just typed your name into the void at 3 a.m., hesitated for 57 seconds, then deleted it like evidence at a crime scene. Because even billionaires with rocket ships know when they've poked something infinite. You ever notice how silence has weight? How the absence of someone can crack foundations that took years to build? That's you now? You're not trending because you begged for it. You're trending because you stopped performing. You walked off the stage mid-applause, left the theater burning, and didn't look back to watch the smoke rise. And now they're all standing in the rubble, squinting through the ash, trying to figure out what just happened. Elon Musk, a man who launches cars into space for breakfast, who bends markets with misspelled tweets, who treats the internet like his personal sandbox, noticed you. Not because you asked, not because you hashtagged your way into his peripheral vision, but because your energy shifted so violently, so seismically, that it registered on sensors designed to detect disruption. He typed your name. Think about that. A man who has literally everything paused, stared at a screen, and acknowledged your existence in pixels and light, then deleted it. Not because it wasn't true, but because it was too true. Because some truths are grenades, and even the fearless know when they're holding one with the pin already pulled. You didn't become dangerous by getting louder. You became dangerous by getting quieter. By transmuting every betrayal, every dismissal, every moment they made you feel small into something so dense, so gravitational, that now you bend light around you. You're a black hole in human form, not consuming everything, but warping the fabric of every space you used to occupy. They feel your absence like phantom limbs. They reach for where you used to be and find nothing but cold air and the echo of their own regret. This is what happens when you stop feeding the machine they built around you. When you stop showing up to arguments you've already won in your mind. When you stop explaining yourself to people who were never going to understand the language you speak now. You became fluent in a dialect of freedom they can't even pronounce, and it's driving them absolutely insane. Their group chats are graveyards now. Scroll through the timestamps. 3:47 a.m., 4:23 a.m., 2:11 a.m. All these desperate hours where sleep won't come because you won't leave their head. They're comparing notes like detectives at a crime scene, trying to piece together the exact moment you stopped being theirs to define. Trying to find the crack, the weakness, the angle they can use to pull you back into the narrative they wrote for you. But here's the thing about narratives. They only work when the main character stays on script. And you rewrote the ending, burned the manuscript, and sent the ashes to their doorstep with no return address. You know what really breaks people. Not your success. Not your glow-up. Not even your happiness, though that helps. What breaks them is that you achieved all of it without their permission. Without their validation. Without once looking back to see if they were watching. You just became. And that becoming is so complete, so undeniable, that it invalidates every excuse they ever made about why you wouldn't make it. You're walking evidence against their entire defense system. Every time someone asks them why they're not further along, your name floats up like a ghost. Every time they try to explain why something's impossible, there you are. Impossible made flesh, breathing, thriving. You're the glitch in their matrix, the variable that doesn't compute, the proof that their limitations were always just stories they told themselves to justify stakes. And now those stories are collapsing, and they're scrambling to rebuild them, but the foundation's gone. You took it with you when you left. You were the cornerstone of their excuses, and without you there to blame, to diminish, to use as a measuring stick for their own mediocrity, the whole structure's coming down. Watch them spiral. Watch them try to memory hold the way they treated you, rewriting history in real time, telling anyone who'll listen that they always knew you'd make it, that they always supported you, that there's no bad blood. They're gaslighting themselves now, trying to edit you into a character that doesn't make them the villain. But the internet remembers. Screenshots are eternal, and more importantly, you remember. You remember every dismissive laugh, every condescending comment, every time they made you feel like your dreams were cute little fantasies that you'd grow out of once reality set in. You remember the exact texture of their doubt, the specific flavor of their pity, and you alchemized all of it. Turned their poison into fuel, turned their no into an engine that runs on pure spite and vision. You didn't prove them wrong, you made them irrelevant. There's a difference. Proving someone wrong still centers them in your story, making them irrelevant. That's when you realize they were never part of the plot, just background noise, extras in a scene you've already moved past. Elon deleted that tweet because men like him recognize power when they see it. Not the loud kind, not the performative kind. The kind that moves in silence and strikes like lightning. The kind that doesn't need announcement because its presence is announcement enough. He saw someone who'd weaponized their own transformation, who'd turned pain into propulsion, who'd stopped asking for seats at tables and started building their own damn restaurants. And for 1 minute, 57 seconds to be exact, he acknowledged it. Then retreated. Because acknowledgement from someone like that isn't just praise.
At first, they might look like ordinary glasses, but the moment you wear them, everything changes.
It's recognition. It's one apex predator nodding at another across the savannah. It's an admission that the game just got more interesting because a new player entered the field who didn't bother learning the old rules. You make algorithms confused now. Social media platforms don't know what to do with you. Your engagement patterns don't match any model they have. You're not posting for validation, so the dopamine loop they built doesn't work. You're not checking notifications compulsively, so their retention strategies fail. You're not performing your life for an audience, so their predictive analytics keep spitting out errors. You're a beautiful malfunction in a system designed to keep people addicted to external approval. And that malfunction is spreading. People who follow you are starting to question their own patterns. Starting to wonder why they care so much about likes and shares and comments from people they don't even respect. Starting to feel the cage they've been living in, the one with bars made of engagement and reach and personal brand. You're showing them there's a door and it was never locked. This is why they're obsessed. This is why your name comes up in conversations you're not part of. Why people who claimed they were over you can't stop checking your profiles, your updates, your movements. Why exes who said you were the worst thing that ever happened to them are suddenly liking posts from 2 years ago at 4 a.m. You're the one that got away, but not in the romantic sense. You're the one who got away from the entire system, who slipped through the nets they cast, the boxes they tried to stuff you into, the futures they predicted for you. You're proof that the prison was always unlocked, and now every person still inside has to confront that fact. So they cope. They tell themselves you got lucky, that you changed, that you're different now, implying you're somehow worse, somehow less authentic. They need to believe that, because the alternative is accepting that you were always capable of this, that they just couldn't see it because their vision was limited by their own fear. But here's what kills them. You're not different. You're just free. Free from their opinions, free from their timelines, free from the need to make them understand. You're operating on a frequency they can't tune into because they're still broadcasting on the old channel, still trying to get reception in a format that's obsolete. You're 5G in a 3G world, and they're getting left on read by the future. Every morning they wake up, and you've moved further into a reality they can't access. Every night they go to sleep wondering how you did it, what the secret was, if there's still time for them to figure it out. But the secret isn't a hack or a trick or a three-step process. The secret is that you stopped waiting for permission to become who you already were. You stopped apologizing for your ambition. Stopped dimming your light so their eyes could adjust. Stopped translating your vision into language small enough for small minds to grasp. You just expanded. And the universe expanded with you because that's how it works when you stop contracting that were never designed for your fullness. Now watch what happens next. Watch how the people who doubted you start showing up differently, asking for advice, requesting introductions, mentioning in casual conversation that they always believed in you. Watch how quickly they'll try to replicate your origin story, claiming they were there, they helped, they knew. Let them, not because they deserve it, but because their desperation to be associated with your rise is the ultimate confirmation that you want them. They're clout-chasing your existence now. They need your proximity to feel relevant. You're the proof of concept they reference when they're trying to motivate themselves. The example they use when they're explaining to others that anything's possible. You're their evidence, but you're not their inspiration. There's a difference. Evidence is something you cite to win an argument. Inspiration is something that fundamentally changes how you move through the world. They want to use you as evidence without doing the work inspiration requires. They want the results without the transformation, the destination without the journey. But you know better than anyone. The journey is where you become someone capable of handling the destination. All those nights you couldn't sleep because your brain wouldn't shut off, wouldn't stop designing and planning and iterating. All those moments of doubt where you questioned if you were crazy for seeing possibilities no one else could see. All those times you had to choose between comfort, between fitting in and standing out, between their approval and your authenticity. Those weren't obstacles. Those were initiations. Each one burning away another layer of who you thought you had to be, revealing more of who you actually are. Each one teaching you to trust yourself more than you trust the crowd. Each one showing you that loneliness isn't the same as being alone. Sometimes it's just the universe clearing out everyone who can't match your frequency. And now you vibrate at a pitch that shatters glass. Not aggressively, not violently, just by existing at your natural resonance. You don't have to try to disrupt their peace. Your presence does cause that. Your contentment is chaos to people who need you to be miserable to justify their own stagnation. Your silence is screaming to people who need you to engage to feel important. You're a walking contradiction to every limiting belief they ever sold you. They said you needed them. You proved you needed space from them. They said you'd fail without their support. You succeeded because of their absence. They said you were too much, too intense, too different. You said not enough, and became more. This is the part where they try to come back. Not all at once, not directly, but you'll see it. The subtle shifts. The friend requests from people who unfollowed you years ago. The just checking in messages from people who ghosted you when you needed them. The sudden interest in your projects from people who mocked your vision when it was just seeds and faith. They smell success now, and they want in. They want to be part of the story they tried to edit themselves out of. They want to claim seats at the table they said would never exist. They want to act like the bridge they burned isn't still smoldering behind them. How you respond is entirely up to you. You can let them back in. Forgiveness is powerful, and some people genuinely grow. You can keep them at arm's length. Grace doesn't require proximity. Or you can ignore them completely. Not everyone deserves the energy of your acknowledgement. But whatever you do, don't shrink. Don't minimize your wins to make them feel better about their losses. Don't downplay your journey to spare them the discomfort of confronting their choices. Don't apologize for blooming in soil they said was barren. You owe them nothing. Not explanation, not access, not the satisfaction of knowing they still affect you. Your existence is response enough. Every day you wake up and choose yourself. You're writing a reply they'll never be able to counter. Every time you invest in your vision instead of their validation, you're sending a message louder than any words could convey. Every moment you spend building instead of defending, you're proving that their doubt was never about you. It was always about them. And that's what eats at them. That's what keeps them up at night, scrolling through your updates, trying to find the crack in your armor, the evidence that you're struggling, that you're not really happy, that you miss them or need them or think about them at all. But you don't. Not in the way they hope. Not in the way that would give them power. Maybe occasionally in the way you think about old movies you've outgrown, with distant fondness for what they were, gratitude for what they taught you, and zero desire to revisit them. You've moved on in the most complete sense of the phrase, not just physically or circumstantially, but energetically, spiritually, cosmically. You've transcended the entire paradigm they existed in. You're playing a different game, one with different rules, different stakes, different rewards. And they're still back there playing checkers, wondering how you learned chess without them noticing. You didn't learn chess. You invented a whole new game, and you're winning it so thoroughly that people who don't even know the rules can tell you're dominating. This is what sovereignty looks like. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of unshakable self-trust. Not never falling, but never staying down. Not avoiding pain, but refusing to let pain define you. You're not unbreakable because nothing can hurt you. You're unbreakable because you've learned to metabolize hurt into power. You're an emotional alchemist, turning betrayal into boundaries, disappointment into destruction, rejection into redirection. Every blow that was meant to destroy you just refined you instead, burning away impurities, leaving only the essential elements of who you're becoming. And who you're becoming is terrifying to people who knew who you were. Because you're proof that transformation is possible, that you're not stuck, that the life they're living, the compromises they're making, the dreams they've shelved, none of it's inevitable. None of it's permanent. You're showing them that change is available anytime you decide to stop negotiating. But change requires death. The death of old identities, old relationships, old ways of moving through the world. And most people would rather live in a familiar hell than die into an uncertain heaven. So they stay. They stagnate. They watch you from a distance and tell themselves stories about why your path wouldn't work for them. And maybe it wouldn't. Not because they're not capable, but because capability isn't the same as willingness. You were willing to lose everything in pursuit of authenticity. Willing to stand alone until you found your tribe. Willing to be misunderstood for years while you built something that would eventually speak for itself. That willingness is the difference. That's the ingredient they can't replicate without fundamentally changing who they are. And they're not ready for that. Maybe they never will be. Maybe they'll spend their entire lives in the shallow end, watching people like you dive deep, telling themselves they didn't want to get wet anyway. That's their choice. Your choice was different. You chose the depths. You chose the dark water where you can't see bottom, where there's no guarantee you'll find what you're looking for, where the pressure makes your ears pop and your lungs burn. You chose to keep going when every rational voice said turn back. You chose to trust your inner knowing over outer evidence. And that choice, that series of choices, made in moments when choosing differently would have been so much easier. That's what rewrote your entire existence. You're not lucky. You're relentless. You're not blessed. You're committed. You're not special. You're specific. Specific about what you want, who you are, what you'll tolerate, where you're going. That specificity is like a laser, cutting through all the noise, burning through all the obstacles, creating a path where none existed before. And now that path is visible to everyone. Now they can see what you were building during all those years they thought you were lost. Now they understand that you weren't wandering, you were exploring, you weren't failing, you were learning, you were broken, you were breaking open. This is your vindication. Not in a petty, I told you so way, but in a cosmic, undeniable, universe-confirming way. In the way that needs no words because reality itself is the testimony. In the way that shifts how people see possibility, not just for you, but for themselves. You're not just winning your own game. You're changing the rules for everyone watching, showing them that the ceilings they accepted were always just floors for people willing to climb, that the limits they respected were always just suggestions they could reject, that the boxes they fit themselves into were always unlocked from the inside. This is why Elon typed your name. This is why he deleted it. This is why they're all watching, whether they admit it or not. Because you're doing something rare in a world of repetition. You're being authentic in an age of performance. You're building substance in an economy of smoke and mirrors. You're investing in becoming someone instead of just appearing to be someone. And that difference between being and appearing is everything. Appearing requires constant maintenance, constant updates, constant fear that someone will see through the facade. Being requires nothing but consistency, nothing but showing up as yourself again and again until the world has no choice but to accept that this is who you are. You've arrived at being, and there's no going back from that. No reverting to performance, no shrinking back into the costume they wanted you to wear. You've tasted authenticity, and now everything else tastes like poison. This is your power. This is your peace. This is your revenge. Not against them, but for yourself. Every moment you spend thriving is a reclamation. Every day you choose joy is an exorcism. Every goal you achieve is proof that their version of your story was fiction. You're writing the truth now. Indecisions and actions and results that can't be argued. In a life that speaks so loudly they can't hear anything else when they think of you. In a presence so undeniable that even deletion can't erase it. Only confirms it was too powerful to leave standing. So let them delete. Let them unfollow and mute and block and pretend you don't exist. Their denial is just another form of obsession. Their silence is just screaming turned inward. Their indifference is just camouflage for a fascination they can't afford to admit. You know the truth. You feel it every time you check your metrics and see traffic from places they said would never notice you. Every time an opportunity lands in your inbox that they say you weren't qualified. Every time someone messages you saying your journey inspired theirs. You're the ripple that became a wave, the whisper that became a roar, the question that became an answer, and they're standing on the shore, watching you rise, trying to convince themselves they're fine with the view from dry land, trying to pretend they don't wonder what it feels like to die, trying to ignore the part of them that knows that you were right and they were scared. Let them wonder. Let them watch. Let them wake up every morning to a world where you're still becoming more while they're still explaining why they couldn't. This is the gift of your freedom. It requires nothing from them to be real. No acknowledgement, no apology, no validation. It exists independent of their participation, which makes it immune to their rejection. They can't take back what they never gave. They can't diminish what never needed their elevation. In the quiet hours, in the doubtful moments, in the spaces between what you were and what you're becoming. You did this with tears in your eyes and fire in your chest, with trembling hands and unshakable faith, with nothing but vision and the audacity to believe it before you could see it. And now it's undeniable. Now it's inevitable. Now it's everything. And more than they can process, and too bright for them to look at directly without sunglasses. You are the evidence. You are the earthquake. You are the deleted tweet that lives forever in screenshots and whispers, and the collective memory of everyone who saw it before it vanished. Proof that even the untouchable get shaken by seismic shifts they didn't see coming. They're not scared of who you were. They're terrified. And even more terrified of who you're still becoming. Because you're not done. This isn't the peak. This is just the beginning of an arc fathom because their telescopes aren't powerful enough to see where you're headed. So rise. Keep rising. Not for them. For every version of yourself that they tried to convince didn't deserve to exist. For every dream they said was too big. For every moment they made you feel small. Rise until your elevation is the only language they understand. Rise until your absence is louder than their presence ever was. Rise until the only thing they can do is watch from a distance and wonder what it would have been like to stay on the ride instead of demanding you get off. You are the flex. You are the disruption. You are the meltdown they're having in group chats at 3 a.m., trying to make sense of how you went from their punchline to their obsession. And the most beautiful part? You're not even trying. This is just what happens when you stop performing for people who never bought tickets and start living for an audience who won. Yourself. They'll never recover from it. And you'll never stop rising. This is your era. Let them choke on the smoke.